Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Monday, the 19th day of March, year of our Lord 2018. Welcome to the John Moore Show. That's not breaking news, but the headlines this morning, there's a couple that are important. One, the intensity of Donald Trump wanting to terminate and bring to an end the Mueller investigation is big news on Drudge Report this morning. And the other thing goes down to where Republic Broadcasting is, Round Rock, Texas. Texas is basically a suburb of Austin, Texas, where there's been a series of bombings. The fourth bombing occurred earlier this morning, I believe it was. And everybody's on edge down there in Austin, Texas. So I hope the police will resolve that soon. And prepper tip of the day, I want to encourage all of you to make sure that each one of your team members has at least 2 U.S. government military issue ponchos. It's a great piece of equipment, multiple uses for the government issue poncho, and everybody in your team should have one. In my area, the woodland camo is the most desirable. There's several different camouflage patterns, but here in south central Missouri, the woodland pattern is the best overall camouflage pattern. It looks like we'll have open lines this morning. If you have a question or comment, give us a call at 800-313-9443. I am so glad that I thought to get back in touch with my friend Jeff Nyquist. Jeff and I got to know each other, I guess it's been, about 10 or 12 years ago. It's been quite a while. I still had my weekly show, my Sunday afternoon show here on Republic Broadcasting, originally Saturday afternoon, and then went to Sunday, and then, of course, to my daily show. But Jeff Nyquist was a regular guest years ago. I'm a big fan of Jeff's. I've only read one of his books, I have to admit. I need to get the other one and read it also. But Jeff was shocked into reality when he found out that his dream career of being a public school teacher was smashed to smithereens when he determined, to his own satisfaction, that he would have to at least fake becoming a Marxist in order to get through the college that teaches the teachers out there in California, which he wasn't willing to compromise his principles and do that. So he walked away from that and decided to have another career for himself. In the meantime, that wake-up call caused him to start looking into the true nature of international communism, the true threat posed by international communism, and all the subtleties and nuances connected to it. This is very important. It is very, very important. It is something that is not given basically hardly any real attention in the manner it should be by the mass media. In the alternative media, the patriot community, passing attention now and then. That's about what it gets. The alternative media tends to focus on things that are apparently more in our face, more of a critical, short-term nature, sometimes long-term. Rarely does the threat of international communism play a role in that. It can occasionally, but rarely. Rarely does it. I have to give credit where credit is due. The communists are brilliant in their strategies, and they're in it for the long run. They know they couldn't do what they wanted to do in a matter of a few years or even a couple of decades. They've been at this a century now, going back to 1917. They've been working behind the scenes diligently to take what power they've got and focus it on where they can get the most bang for their buck. Going back to Jeff Nyquist for a moment. So if you've got, let's say you've got limited resources, and one of your goals, they have many, many goals, by the way. One of your goals is to take over the American public school system, the American public education system. So let's make that your stated goal. Now, how would you do that? Well, what they did was brilliant, quite frankly. They took over the schools that teach the teachers. That's what they did. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This took decades to happen. They began in earnest, I believe, in the 1930s and possibly even before that, putting people in high places. I can't say, because I have no evidence, that the communists were behind the discontinuance of teaching phonics in the public schools. I know whether they were or whether they were not behind it. That one thing, removing phonics from the public schools, did a tremendous amount of harm, which continues to this day, by the way, a tremendous amount of harm to the American public, the American people. Now, I know by demographics. Majority of you listening to me out there, you're over age 55, many of you are over age 60, which means there's a high likelihood that you were taught phonics in elementary school in a proper manner. If you're under age 50 or age 55, it's highly unlikely that you were taught phonics in the way they should be taught in the public schools. Notice I keep saying the public schools. Why is that? Well, because the private schools never stopped. People paying thousands of dollars to have their children properly educated demand a proper education. Otherwise, they'll take their children and their money someplace else, won't they? Of course they would. If you're over age 55 or 60, you most likely had the Dick and Jane readers when you were in elementary school. I did. Those came out around 1940, maybe the late 1930s, something like that. That was the beginning of sight reading. That's what that was. The Dick and Jane readers were the beginning of sight reading. Now, the teachers back then, the teachers I had, when they went to teachers' college, they all were taught to teach the students phonics. That's what they did, despite having the Dick and Jane readers. In spite of having the Dick and Jane readers, they still taught phonics because that's what they were taught in teachers' college. That's what worked, and that's what they did. Now, by the mid-1960s, the teachers who taught phonics were retiring, getting out of the system. It had actually been taking place long before 1966. But 1966 was the year of the highest SAT scores ever recorded nationwide. I heard a bit of an exchange. I think it was Diane Sawyer interviewing the recently appointed in the last year or so head of the U.S. Department of Education. And I wish and I don't recall the woman's name. It is a woman, by the way. What her name was, but Diane Sawyer attempted to put the head of the Department of Education in a trick bag by pointing out that the test scores had been increasing for American students, which they have, on one hand. On the other, this is something important to remember. The SAT tests themselves have been changed not once, twice, but now at least 3 times, possibly 4, but at least 3 times since 1966, 52 years ago, to artificially give the impression of higher test scores. It is a bit humiliating and embarrassing to see the SAT scores keep going down. So what they've done, at least 3 times, or 4, whichever it was, they established a new SAT test, and the students are scoring higher than previously, which was the desired outcome. And over a period of 6, 8, or 10 years, incrementally the test scores are going down again, to the point where they think, well, we need to do this over. we need to change the SAT test again to bring those test scores back up. So they do that. And then over a period of 8 or 10 years, the same thing happens. That's the cycle we've been observing now for 52 years. And it all goes back to the English language, learning how to read, write, and speak the English language, of which phonics is a critical part of, not optional. It is critical. When he taught sight reading, which began in the, I'm going to say, early 1960s, late 1950s, early 1960s, but nationwide, you're forever limiting the ability of those boys and girls. You're limiting to a vocabulary of maybe 4,000 or 5,000 words, which may sound like a lot, but it's not. It's not. You're limiting their ability to pick up a book, magazine, newspaper, and figure out what words mean that they haven't seen before, which is what phonics does. It teaches you how to recognize, understand, and read words you haven't seen before, among other things. The nationwide embarrassment of the consequences of not teaching phonics got to the point that in the mid to late 1970s, there was a private company marketing a program for parents of children called Hooked on Phonics. You probably heard the advertisements, Hooked on Phonics, so that the parents could do what the schools were no longer doing, which is teaching phonics to their youngsters. That helped a lot. That helped, no telling how many hundreds of thousands of students learn how to learn the English language. And then by the late 80s, early 90s, they were putting phonics back into the public schools in a limited fashion. And I can't speak as to how they're doing it nationwide. I don't have access to that information offhand. I know one of the school districts locally, they don't start teaching phonics until the 6th grade, which is way, way too late. You can start teaching phonics in kindergarten to be effective. We have a caller on hold here. We got Dan in Missouri. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, John. I've got 2 children. They're not children anymore, obviously. One's 42 and the other's 44. And we decided to homeschool them way back when homeschooling was considered child abuse. We'd walk down the hallways at church, and they go, "There goes those kids. They keep them at home," like we were beating them or something. Right. But the other homeschoolers that we were associating with at the time, the word was already out that the SAT test had been dumbed down so that the scores would go up. And we had to go back to, it seems like 63 was the SAT test that we got a hold of to really see if our kids were absorbing anything,
Right.
So
right.
It was just amazing back then. And I was part of the public school system.
That's right, you were.
I wasn't teaching English, but it was just amazing to watch it just keep getting watered down year after year,
Absolutely.
Pathetic.
Well, that's a good report there, Dan. The public schools are tantamount to child abuse themselves these days. They're basically warehouses churning out youngsters who can function at a level high enough to do some menial employment, and that's about it, isn't it?
Well, I whenever I was in there, I was in the public school system for 9 years, and I referred to it as federally subsidized babysitting. It kept the kids away from, they let the parents go to work, and it was just pathetic, the whole, what it had evolved to. I mean, it started out probably pretty good, but we didn't want our kids institutionalized. I always thought of it that way, too.
Right.
Institutionalize your children. Make sure they get the latest dirty joke. Make sure of course, you can get that other places, but our kids, they didn't go, but they got involved in 4-H, which I thought was pretty reasonable. They were both state state reps in 4-H. They got voted in. It wasn't like they could pay their way into it like politicians do. And my boy got involved in scouting, which is something you ought to think twice about now, it sounds like. And he ended up Eagle Scout, and I thought my daughter ended up with a double major in college. They both ended up college education, and they were homeschooled, and they're quite social people. I mean, they fit in anywhere as far as in a crowd, or they're church members. It didn't hurt them any.
Right.
Not being public educated didn't hurt them any.
No, not at all. Well, I encourage people to stay away from the Boy Scouts. There's another group called the Royal Rangers, which mimics much of what the Boy Scouts do on one hand. On the other, they don't have any mentally ill men in charge of boys. And homosexuality is a mental illness. And why would you intentionally put your child in that kind of jeopardy to be in the presence of a man who is sexually attracted to other men? That's just beyond me.
And the fact that they caved in, I guess it had to do with money and court battles and all that stuff. I don't know why they caved in.
Well, I don't know the details either, but it was the wrong thing to do for the wrong reasons.
Oh, my goodness. I'd rather see them stood up and say, that's the end, we ain't doing it. We're just going to disband the whole mess. That would have been more backbone than what they did.
Too much money at risk.
I would imagine. Well, thank you, John. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, appreciate the call, Dan. Thank you. The call number's 800-313-9443. The counter-argument I most frequently hear from parents who are considering and rejecting homeschooling is they're concerned their children won't be properly socialized. Well, Dan just addressed that pretty successfully, didn't he? Participating in 4-H and scouting activities and so forth. There's lots of opportunities for socialization. Church obviously would be top of the list. Here's our break. We'll be right back.
Are you spiritually and mentally armed and ready for the battle ahead? Don't miss Hear the Watchman Dallas 2018, March 23rd through the 25th at the Hilton Dallas Fort Worth Lakes Executive Conference Center. Join the remnant body of Christ at this powerful, life-changing event. Activate your faith and join 18 prophetic teachers of truth, including L.A. Marzulli, Pastor Paul Begley, Dr. Donna Mary Colbert, along with this year's special guest, prophetic prayer walker Henry Groover. The time is now to gain ground and make history as we approach turbulent times. Get baptized, get trained, be freed of strongholds that bind you. You will be empowered, you will be blessed. This could be the most important weekend of your life. Join God's Army in 2018. Visit HearTheWatchman.com to reserve your seat today. This event will sell out. Go to HearTheWatchman.com and make your reservation. And in the end, Jesus wins.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the Intershelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The Intershelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 19th of March. If you plan on being in Dallas next weekend, I will be there. I will be the keynote speaker at the Hear the Watchman conference. If you want a discount, a $20 discount, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, to get the discount code. To be there in person, get $20 discount on the ticket. If you can't be there in person, there's a 20% discount on the live stream version of this event. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. We're taking your questions, calls, and comments here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. Language skills are not optional. Success in any career path, and when I say any career path, I'm being quite serious, any career path is going to mean having superior language skills, the ability to read, write, and speak the English language. It doesn't matter what career path you're talking about. If you have superior skills in language, you will do better. Conversely, if you don't, success will be very limited, in some cases non-existent, if you don't have those skills. They are fundamental. Language skills are fundamental to everything else. That's how critical this is. It's not optional. I was talking to somebody over the weekend about how a young relative of mine, a female relative, she's, I think, 18-year-old freshman in college. She thinks her printed name is her signature. And we, in our conversation, went to legal documents where there'll be two spaces. One space for the printed name and the second space for the signature. Now, clearly, obviously, when it comes to many legal documents, one is not the same as the other, is it? Or why would there be two spaces? One for the printed name, one for the signature. Now, this young woman, this 18-year-old, is very bright. She graduated from high school with basically 2 years of college credits already as a high school graduate. And I have every reason to believe that she is not the exception, that this young woman is probably representative of a huge percentage of young men and women all over this country who believe that their printed name is their signature. How sad is that? I thought about having a little exercise for one of our local school boards where I would have a teacher agree to help me with this and have the teacher pick out 3 seniors who had a high grade point average and were probably going to get some college scholarships, show up with myself, the teacher, and these 3 students at a school board meeting, and a copy of the Declaration of Independence as it was written in the original cursive script. And without any rehearsal, without any warning to these 3 students of why they were there, have them in turn attempt to read a portion of the Declaration of Independence. It would be an interesting exercise. My belief is that one may be able to read it somewhat, a second one may be struggle, and a third one might be totally baffled about these scribbling pieces of ink on paper, or in the case of the original document, ink on parchment. Now, I haven't done this. I don't know for a fact what the outcome would be. That's just my belief based on what I know. How sad. How absolutely sad that a young American, high school graduate, can't walk up to one of, I think there was about 18 or 20, I'm not sure how many original copies, one of the original copies of the Declaration of Independence in Washington, D.C., in the National Archives, and be able to read it. I've done this myself. It was a very solemn moment for me, quite frankly. I was 18-year-old, recent graduate of high school. clearly, obviously, this document was given the highest order of respect and security. I recall it seemed like it was the glass covering it was maybe 6 inches thick or so. It was part of a vault that could be an event of emergency, such as an attack from enemy forces. It could be immediately closed, but this steel vault could be closed and lowered down below ground into a more secure vault to make sure nothing would ever happen to it. Here's our bottom of the hour break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 19th of March. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Many of you, regular listeners, you're aware of our project. It is truly our project of locating images of continents with new coastlines on TV shows and movies. Well, we have the next one posted. The title of the film is The Northlander. Was released in 2016. And we got 3 images there of continents with new coastlines from the movie titled Northlander. If you find one yourself on a movie or a TV show, it could be a magazine also, but primarily movies and TV shows. Get that screen capture to me. As a thank you, you get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs. It's a great project, and I've every reason to believe we're going to at least double the list. We may have to find another way to store these things because they're starting to take up so much space on my home page here. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. Also, on my website, of course, you'll find energy cleaners for sale. If you have issues, I'm talking to you. Listen up. If you have issues with pain, arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, you need an energy cleaner. That's you out there listening to me, if you have issues with getting a great night's sleep, you need an energy cleaner. I use mine every night. I do. I wake up in the morning pain-free after having had a great night's sleep, ready to hit it again, and you can also. Check out the details at my website. This is my home business. When you place your order, I'm the guy that packs it up. I take it to the Little Country Post Office at Cherryville, Missouri, where they have an all-you-can-eat catfish buffet for $9, actually $8.95 every Friday evening. I pack them up, the mattress pads and the energy cleaners, and I ship them out priority mail. Just got an order this morning, as a matter of fact. Only $285 for the energy cleaner, shipping included. The mattress pads, they vary in price by the size, of course. The twin size, full, queen, king, California king, the handy travel size. I'll be using the handy travel size when I travel to Dallas this coming weekend. keep in mind, I offer, from me to you personally, a 90-day money-back guarantee on the energy cleaner, so you're risking nothing. What are you waiting for? Check it out. Toll-free auto line, 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. For you local folks that are looking forward to movie night starting up, our local preparedness group, we have a free movie every Friday night during the warmer weather. We're about to start our third season, which will start this coming Friday. I'll get the email out to everybody on our email list for movie night. The doors open at 6. The movie starts at 7. We have fresh, hot popcorn, ice cream, hot dogs, brats, candy, all kinds of soft drinks. When I say all kinds, we've got about a dozen we inventory. So it's a lot of fun. It's a social event. It's nice to meet up with people once a week who are of like mind, as we say. You can talk to about prepping, and they won't look at you like you got two heads like most people do. We got one guy that drives an hour just to get there so he can meet up with people who are of like mind. So that's movie night. Starts this coming Friday. All right. Talking about education. The successful high school students I've known locally that go on to successful careers and college scholarships, their parents supplemented the education they got in the public schools. They supplemented that education at home. That's what they did. And that supplementation got their students to achieve better, graduate with a higher grade point average, and get college scholarships. So I think that's something that if you are going to have children in the public schools, I know I've spent enough time with my daughter observing her teaching her twins at home. She is diligent in making sure that all the homework assignments are completed properly on time. She supplements their homework assignments with other teaching aids that she implements herself, and she's had a lot of success. Her oldest son, who's now in college with a full scholarship to play football, he did pretty good in school. He wasn't the straight A student on one hand, but on the other, he was a pretty good student and got pretty decent grades. And I see the same thing happening with these 12-year-old, soon-to-be 13-year-old twins, boy and a girl, that they're well-adjusted, getting good grades, they're finding themselves in leadership positions in their classes, active in various school activities. So if that's the choice, I think that the parents do need to pay careful attention to what's going on in the public schools, if that's the choice that they make, to make sure that their children are being taught properly. They're being taught what should be taught. History is going to be convoluted in the public schools. That's almost a given, that they will teach the politically correct versions of history. And I would encourage any parents who have children in public schools to make sure that children learn a real American history, not the make-believe fairy tales that are going on in the public schools these days. Being taught, for example, that the alleged Civil War, which was not a civil war, it was the United States of America invading a sovereign state, that the alleged Civil War was fought over slavery. What an absolute fantasy that is. It's easily provable, by the way. Easily provable. All you need to remember is Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Delaware. That's all you need to remember to know and prove quickly to any concerned person that the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery. You may say, well, John, what's it got to do with Missouri, Kentucky, Delaware, and Maryland got to do with slavery? Well, it's easy. because all during 1860, 61, 62, 63, and 1865, slavery was still practiced in those 4 states, which were part of the United States of America. Can you imagine? Can you imagine you're a 20-year-old in Kentucky, you're being drafted in the Union Army, your family owns 3 or 4 slaves, and you're being drafted into the Union Army to fight against another country that has slavery because of slavery? What's wrong with this picture? Well, that didn't happen. That did not happen. We got a caller on hold here. We got Mark in Oregon. Good morning, Mark.
Mr. Moore, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to mention something that Jesus mentioned, to beware of the leaven of the and of the Phariseeism and Sadduceeism. I'm paraphrasing. But they also infiltrated our seminary schools, and I just wanted to mention that.
Okay.
Young ministers coming out aren't telling the whole truth about some very important things, and I thought about that when you started talking about education.
They can't talk about what they weren't taught themselves, can they, Mark?
What's that?
I said they can't talk about what they weren't taught themselves, can they?
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's some major things that are a big fat lie that has the wool pulled over the sheep like you wouldn't believe. But I'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the call, Mark. You
betcha. Thank you.
A lot of people refer to organized religion. I don't use that term. I use the term corporate religion. There's a lot of things that simply don't make sense. My wife's side of the family all grew up Catholic, some practicing and some not. And my wife's sister, lovely woman, very resourceful, very bright. I'm always kidding her about how, yes, I'm not Catholic, obviously. Oh, yes, I'm willing to make a sacrifice. It's a tough job, but anybody can do it. I'm willing. Somebody's got to do it. I'll sacrifice and have smoked salmon on Friday. I will make that sacrifice. And we both chuckle about that. We got a caller on hold here. We got Rick in Missouri. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. On Fridays I prefer shrimp and crab. If I'm going to do without, that is how I would like to do it.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, Rick, for biting the bullet and making that sacrifice. It's the right thing to do. Go ahead, Rick.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm glad to do it for my fellow man. It's like your sister-in-law says. Really, someone has to do it. Gary is correct. I spent a good solid 10 or 15 years with a straight, brilliant Catholic priest in my living room, and we hit long balls to each other for hours and hours, and I learned a lot. And there is just like you have inside the FBI and the CIA and the federal government, you've got a rift right down the center where these people are lining up on each side, and the Catholic Church is absolutely they're an organization, they're a corporation of some sort, and they have people at the top there that have some agendas and that don't meet up with some of the rest of our agendas, and yet we press on just like an American does. There are places in the world where you will go through no fault of your own, but if people find out you're an American, they'll kill you if they can get their hands on you. And it was never anything that you did, and actually, in truth, it was really never anything that the government did. It was basically the fault of the deep state. And so in that, the Catholic Church is not exempted from that kind of insanity. Anytime men get a hold of anything, power seems to corrupt. But that isn't, and yet, we're required to, press on, fight the good fight, and hope that the sun will come out at some point. Actually, I was going to say something about teachers and teaching, since I've actually lived my whole life with a teacher in the house.
Right.
You know, there are people who, if you can't afford, and a Catholic teacher, I was able to afford through eating crab on Friday in great sacrifice to send my kids to Catholic schools. But everybody should know, if they don't, that people who send their kids to Catholic schools still wind up paying taxes and supporting the public schools. It's just America. So in most cases, the Catholic schools actually get by with fewer resources and underpaid teachers. All teachers are underpaid, but they're even more underpaid. So what actually winds up occurring there is that the educational system is being augmented through the efforts of the parents. So if your kids are in a public school, you are actually really at no disadvantage that I know of. If you're the kind of a parent that is willing to sit down with your child, help them with their homework, see to it that everything is the way it should be. And boys are worse than girls. I mean, a 12-year-old boy is not a 12-year-old girl. A 12-year-old boy, has the attention span of a chimp. So, your patience are taxed to the max when you're doing homework with a young boy. But if you can stand it, if you can do it, if you can stick with it, there's no reason why you can't get a straight A kid, and they'll thank you for it down the road. If you ask me, that time spent helping your child is if you want your kid to do well in high school and in college, you are going, really all you're really doing is teaching them study habits. You're not actually putting anything in their head except the ability to study. And so that was all I wanted to say. But anybody can do it. You can be in a public school and do just fine.
All right. Well, I appreciate the heads up there, Rick. Anything else?
Okay. No, sir, that does it.
All right. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Call number is 800-313-9443. The money spent on public education in this country compared to the results of public education in this country are, quite frankly, embarrassing and humiliating compared to other countries, especially Northern European countries such as Finland, for example. Finland has been called the happiest country to live in on the planet. I'm not sure how they measure that or determine that, but I recently read that. I know a woman who is a Finnish national, and she's very proud of her heritage, and has been to Finland a number of times. I've never been there myself. It's on my list of things to do. If I go back to the Czech Republic this next fall, I might just be able to make a side trip to a place like Finland. We'll see. There's always the issue of time and money, isn't there? But the same thing applies to the American healthcare system. There's no country on the planet that comes anywhere near spending as much per capita on health care as the United States of America. No country even comes close. The money spent per capita on health care, as does the United States. And where are we in longevity? From the top? Way down from the top. Where are we in terms of people with chronic illnesses? Well, we're probably leading the pack. I don't know. There may be some countries that have, well, I'm sure the countries that have worse situation with chronic disease, but no way are we the best educated or the healthiest population on the planet. Not even close to the best educated or the healthiest population on the planet. In fact, we're now seeing for the first time life expectancy go down. That's a pretty recent thing. We could see the trend; it was headed that way, but now it's official that life expectancy is now going down in the United States. You want to know our future? Would you like to know our future? Here it is. 7 out of 10 young Americans cannot join any branch of the U.S. military. They're either too dumb, too fat, too drugged up, or too many criminal convictions. That's our future. 7 out of 10. Here's our break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 19th of March. The actual figure of rejections for, or I should say eligibility, is 71% of young American men and women. I think it's the ages are 18 to 25 years old. 71% will not be allowed to enlist in any branch of the U.S. military: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Too fat, too dumb, too many drugs, too many criminal convictions. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me of what the rates of rejection were for during the Vietnam War, my war. The highest level of inductees was the year I graduated from high school. 382,010 were drafted in 1966. And I know the St. Louis Induction Center had a reputation for being the induction center that had the lowest percentage of rejections. So we're talking about the future here. Whether a young man or a young woman desires to be a part of the military is not relevant. What's relevant is the condition of these young men and women. Their physical condition, their mental condition, their being free of drugs, their not having had criminal convictions. That's the issue, because these young men and women, these are our future. They're our future. And the future looks pretty dismal when you look at it from the way I'm reporting it here. The future looks very dismal because, well, what kind of future do we have when 7 out of 10 young men and women can't even meet? Now, these, keeping in mind, the standards now in 2018 are dramatically lower than they were in 1966. Dramatically lower than they were in 1966. If they used the same standards they had in 1966, that 70%, 71% would be a higher number, obviously. So we're only looking right now at 29% of young men and women are physically fit, mentally capable, with no drug problems or criminal convictions. That's a pretty sad commentary on us as a society, on us as a country, on us as a culture, that we've done this to ourselves. The military is scrambling to get their hands on anybody within that 29%. They really are. Here's our top of the hour break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Monday, the 19th day of March. Our preparative today is I want to encourage all of you to get all your team members two, not one, but two, U.S. government issue, military issue, ponchos. I like the woodland pattern for where I am in south central Missouri. You may want a different camouflage pattern. Be sure to get at least one a poncho liner for each team member also. It's not the best sleep you've had, a poncho and a poncho liner, but it certainly will help. It's better than nothing at all. Well, we're very pleased to have with us the second hour our friend Jimmy Ginsling. Jimmy is the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. And we will move forward here with Firearms Monday. Good morning, Jimmy. How you doing?
Good morning, sir. And first off, to all of our listeners, thank you for emails and texts and everything, wondering where we were. I apologize if I haven't gotten back to everyone. Quick explanation, ladies and gentlemen. Christmas Day, I got notified that I had pancreatic cancer. And the VA, being far better than most people believe they are on the television and radio and with the mass media, they jumped onto everything. Special thanks to Dr. Vopicelli and Dr. Lopez at the Albuquerque VA Hospital. They jumped through hoops, pulled strings, changed appointments, and everything to get all the necessary tests and everything done. And the 26th of February, we went, which was the last show that I did with you, John. We had finished up the gun show in Las Cruces there, and we headed for Tucson. And the following Thursday, which was 2 weeks ago, last Thursday, they did a massive surgery on me. It took 14 hours. And we've been recovering ever since. So, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize on missing on Firearms Monday. My clock has been totally screwed up since the surgery. We're in a learning curve right now on a few things. And they did find cancer in some lymph nodes, so we're still not out of the woods yet. But, John, hopefully, if I can just get this stupid clock reset, which also we went through the time change too, which hasn't helped, hopefully we won't miss any more.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you back, Jimmy, and glad to hear you're making some progress. It's a tough road that you've got to go here. Well, one of the things that our listeners look forward to every Monday is the Firearms Tip of the Week. What would that be today, sir?
Well, our tip of the week comes from one of the guys at the gun show this weekend. Yes, we just got home from the hospital last Tuesday, and so we did do a gun show this weekend, much to the chagrin of some people. But my thing is I cannot pick up anything over 8 pounds, and I can't bend to pick anything up because of the way they did the surgery. But one of the guys that I was talking to this weekend has been training with his kids and everything and teaching them all of their handguns and all. And the tip of the week is let your kids or your partner pick the drill. This gentleman, he's got a 14-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. And they'll go through their normal shooting sequence at the range, practice, and make sure sights are on and things like that. And the kids like, one of their favorites, of course, is shooting like a pop can or shotgun shell or something, bouncing it out to as far as it'll go, and whoever misses, then start all over again. And one that they've played that I have not tried yet is they shoot darts at 25 yards. And they use the 22 rifles or the pistols. And so experiment with your teams, ladies and gentlemen, and your young'uns, and let them pick the drills so that it'll, the young people and everything are always looking for a challenge between themselves. Believe me, they can get mom and dad into trouble real quick trying to keep up with them. So that's our firearm tip of the week. And I want to put a big shout out to Bill, who might be listening, that was telling me about that.
Okay, explain a little bit more about this shooting darts thing. How does that work?
The way they explained it to me. He has found some targets that are a dartboard, and they're designed for knife throwing, or they're just paper targets. And what they do is they put them up, and I've never played darts in my life, but evidently in throwing darts, you go for certain numbers, or evidently the dartboard is divided up into a center. Each number's got like 3 different sections, and you have to do them in sequence or something like that to win. And so what they do is they use a standard dartboard game. He told me there's a couple of books out there that's got different games in it for darts. But they actually play that sequence, but they do it with the rifles and the pistols.
Okay. All right.
So
that makes sense.
Kind of like tic-tac-toe or checkers or something like that. It's taken a board game or a wall game, I guess you'd say, with darts and converting it to using firearms.
Something that reminds me, Jimmy, something that was popular in the 1950s. I was starting to read the firearms publications around 1954, 1955, along in there. They would take a sheet of aluminum, thin aluminum, thin gauge aluminum, maybe 12 gauge or maybe not even 12, more like an 18 gauge aluminum sheet, and like you'd get in the hardware store, and then use the rifle or pistol to make a drawing or the image of a flower, or it could be a dog or the head of an Indian or whatever, with the bullets making the outline of the image of whatever object they were trying to show. That was something that was popular for a while there in the mid 1950s.
I'm trying to remember it was the guy that used to shoot for Winchester, the trick shooter.
I know who you're talking about. Right.
People would throw blocks into the air, and he'd shoot them, and put a candle out, and split a playing card. He was real big around Boy Scout jamborees and stuff and everything too. But I'd like to find some videos of some of those old guys and everything. That would be fun to watch. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is absolute skill. That's not accuracy, and that's not marksmanship. That is absolute skill, because it's snap shooting. And I don't know why we don't have guys like that anymore, John. That would be interesting.
How about Tom Knapp? Does that sound familiar?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I'd have to do some research on that.
And
ladies and gentlemen, this
go ahead, Jimmy.
This gun show was good because everybody had missed us and things like that, and got to see a lot of our regular customers again. A lot of business went through. It was a good gun show for us, but we got to talk to a lot of people about a lot of things that were going on. John, I don't think I have seen so many boxes containing rifles and shotguns leave a gun show than I have since the Obama time. I'm not really sure what's going on. I know there's a lot of scare out there with different things, and I have missed some of the news since I've been down. But that's
I'll tell
another
you.
thing.
I got some follow-up on that, Jimmy. I got a call from a bank employee just last week. And I talked to him briefly. He and some of the other bank employees all interested in getting their concealed carry permit training. I haven't had any interest in concealed carry permit training in more than a year since they changed Missouri law. There's something happening at a very foundational level with Americans nationwide. I think it's my belief it's a direct consequence of this mass media attention to firearms that's been given since the Florida school shooting. With all the anti-gun hysteria going on, I believe it's waking up a lot of people to their personal need to be proficient in arms and get arms. What do you think, sir?
That's very probably it. because very probably. Okay, my language is off this morning again. But there were numerous handguns bought this. I talked to a couple of the commercial dealers, and they haven't had a show this good, especially in the Carlsbad area, since early last year, about this time last year. So we sold several uppers this time around. We sold a lot of accessories this time around. We ran out of bipods. We ran out of scopes. I've got probably 3 or 4 custom bills that are going to come out of this show. And so, ladies and gentlemen, people are waking up, and I've got to do a little bit more fishing to find out just what people are thinking, and to get some idea of where this mentality is going, because something is happening, ladies and gentlemen. And people are waking up to the threat, I think, that is out there right now. I had several bring up comments that they were questioning Trump, if or not he was going to go with the gun ban thing. I still don't believe he is. I think he's playing fourth-dimensional chess and keeping everybody of the average nature in the Democrat Party just totally turned upside down. But don't know what's going on, but I can see it happening. And it's almost like you said, John, it's people are waking up to a need that they've got to do this, and they're just doing it. So we shall see. We've got a few more gun shows over the next couple of months. We'll just try to keep a track on it and see what kind of answers
I've seen this before. I've seen this before, Jimmy. A very dear friend of mine. He's Jewish. He's a Air Force veteran. Where he was security officer, security police. He left the Air Force, got a 4-year degree, started his own business, and never, after he left the Air Force, he never touched a firearm again until 20-something years later, when Congress passed the assault weapons ban and high-capacity magazine ban. And within days of that passage, he's talking to me about firearms, and he says, here's what he said. I can paraphrase what he said. He says, John, I think I better get myself a couple of guns. So, yeah, he buys himself an AK-47 and a 1911 Colt. And he had no particular need or desire to own any firearms at all until the passage of that legislation. And I think we may be seeing a similar phenomenon going on here, Jimmy, where people are getting a wake-up call, and they're acting on that wake-up call, aren't they?
Yes, sir. I believe that's it 100%. The incident in Florida, these children that are getting manipulated by Soros and other people, and ladies, do not doubt me, ladies and gentlemen, because that is exactly what's going on. These Democrat organizations are brainwashing these kids. They're giving them scripts to go by, because, and it's proven easily, because when reporters go to talk to the kids and start questioning them, they don't have answers. All they've got is the cut and dry stuff that they are given their little sheet. There's
no depth of knowledge. There's no depth of knowledge behind what they say. They're empty, empty shirts saying words that they've been told. There's nothing to back up what they say. They simply don't have that depth of knowledge. We got a caller on hold here. My co-host and a fellow radio talk show host at Republic Broadcasting, Tim Spencer. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Jimmy. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Oh, I'm here.
Understood, buddy. Hey, John, the only reason I called in, I was listening to what Jimmy was saying. Of course, I was listening on a 10-minute delay about all the guns being sold, and the accessories and all that. And, yeah, I think people are worried. But I've been noticing something. As you know, I have pretty much nothing to do but follow what's going on in the nation and the world. But to me, there seems to be a very strong undercurrent where people are believing the deep state is going to pull off something really spectacular, read really bad, in the very near future because they're fighting for their very existence. I'm getting, I've been following that QAnon to some extent. I listen to pretty much everything Roy Potter puts out, and what's her name, Tracy Beans. I'm not saying these people are 100% correct, but I think that they are picking up on what people are feeling. I mean, this is my opinion. What do you guys think?
I think you put what John was just saying into a little bit simpler terms.
Okay.
The subconscious of the American people, even though they don't understand it, is starting to click and tell them that if they don't do it now, next month may be too late.
Agreed.
And, it's because these people were very happy with what they were doing. Another thing, John, that I noticed that was quite interesting, I had several people come by me because the other dealers pointed in my direction, and I probably did 30, maybe even more, AR-15 familiarization demonstrations over the weekend.
All right.
Break time.
Way to go. We got a break. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the Intershelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The Intershelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 19th of March. Well, it's getting close. The Hear the Watchman conference in Dallas is coming this weekend. I will be the keynote speaker. If you're planning on attending, why not get yourself a 20% discount? A $20 discount, I should say, on the tickets for the live performance. You can go to my website, thelibertyman.com, thelibertyman.com to get your promotion code for the $20 discount. If you can't be there in person, a 20% discount off the live feed version. Okay, we're visiting with Jimmy Gensling. We're talking about firearms, the gun culture, rifles, shotguns, pistols, optics, ammunition, training, everything imaginable. And we're attempting to determine why we've got this sudden increase in the interest in firearms purchases and in training both. And Jimmy, just before the break, you were giving a short dissertation on your showing people how to, I guess, field strip a AR-15. Is that what you do?
Yes, sir. The dealers know where I'm at on the Evil Black rifles and everything, as we affectionately call them. But Gary had asked me if I would take a moment and show a guy that was just buying a gun. They were waiting on the background check to finish. How to tear it down and everything for cleaning all. I said sure, and it was good for everybody because they would bring it over. We'd open the box. I'd show them the basics of it, and we'd always have a few people stop and start watching. And like I said, I did this probably close to 30 times over the whole weekend, not just with Gary, but with a couple of other dealers, and show the people how to open up the rifle, remove the bolt, field strip the bolt, put it back in, do a function check. The most common problem that people have on doing that is getting the firing pin on the wrong side of the cotter key. And just after I would do it, then I would have the customer go through and field strip the bolt and put it back in and close it, open it back up, and then pull it out again. If the customers know that much about the gun, then they can properly clean and maintain the gun. And we did that over and over and over again. And at one point, Teresa was giggling because we probably had about 25 or 30 people around where I was doing this, kind of blocking the aisles a little bit, just all watching. And it was fun. It was, especially from what I've been through, it was really fun to kind of get into that real quick. And Teresa said it was good therapy for me. But
well, good. Glad to hear it.
The individuals that are buying these rifles and everything are different than the ones that were buying them back during the Obama scare, because they're asking the dealer, how do I tear this down? On the pistols, how do I take the slide off and things like that? And this is a different group of people, ladies and gentlemen, that was 6 or 8 years ago. Running out, buying the gun, leaving it in the box and sticking it in the closet until they need it, and then trying to figure it out. These individuals are finding out as much information before they leave. And we gave out several hundred cards, so I know that we're going to have some people from the show and everything contacting us about other instruction. But it was a really interesting gun show. And, Tim, I think you're absolutely correct. I think what John said earlier, you put it into a simpler word. They feel the change coming on, and they're reacting to it not in a knee-jerk fashion, but in an educated guess fashion. So that's where I think we're at right now.
Well, I agree. Of course, I agree. And if people are having similar feelings, all you men and women listening out there, that maybe it's time to check out your inventory of firearms, the accessories that go with them, the ammunition, the magazines. It may be time to check out that inventory, make sure that everything is properly cleaned and good state of repair, will perform the way you expect it to perform, and then buy more ammunition. You can never have too much ammunition or too many magazines, can you, Jimmy?
No. And ladies and gentlemen, one thing on the AR platform, I've spoken quite often that if you've got an AR lower and you've got different calibers, say you've got a 5.56 upper and you've got a 300 blackout upper, there are all different colors of electrical tape out there, and our bottom of the hour break.
There it is. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our Energy Cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the Energy Cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we would. March. Let's not forget my training exercise I've got at my website. It's training exercise USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. People are always asking me, John, when's it going to happen? What's it? Well, it could be any number of scenarios. I list about 5 of them there. Field training exercise USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. You pick out the one you want to prepare for. It could be EMP, violent earth changes, World War III, a couple of others, and start getting ready. Time's a waste. Start getting ready. That's the whole purpose of that, is to motivate people to start getting ready. Of course, also my website is something that will help you in your daily life. Almost everybody listening to me out there has issues with pain and or issues with sleep. That's where the Energy Cleaner comes in. If you have joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, almost without a doubt, the Energy Cleaner will help. Not getting a great night's sleep, the Energy Cleaner will help there also. Only $285 shipping included. Yeah, I use mine every night. I'm into my 8th year of using the Energy Cleaner here. I'm glad that I do. And you will also. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 90-day money-back guarantee. You're risking nothing when you buy your Energy Cleaner. I'm shipping out one this morning, today, to a gentleman bought one along with a full-size pad, by the way. We have the pads that go with the Energy Cleaner. Twin, full, queen, king, California king, and, of course, a handy travel size. All the details are there at my website at thelibertyman.com, where you can place your order using PayPal, the most secure way to make any payment online. I really like PayPal. MasterCard, Visa. Checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. I'm the guy that boxes these up and ships them. This is my home business. That's what it is. Here's a toll-free order line, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday. We're talking to Jimmy Gensling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website's deserteagleshooters.com. Well, Jimmy, with all this increased interest in firearms, I think people need to be reminded about the OOPS kits, don't you?
Yes, sir. We've got several of them in stock for the AR platforms, and we can build them up for other rifles and handguns and everything. So they can email me at jimi@hdc-nm.com and tell us what they've got. We'll work with them, and either if we've got it in stock, we'll get it to them, or we'll put them one together. And
no, let me interrupt you, Jimmy, please. If you do this, ladies and gentlemen, if you get yourself an OOPS kit is a spare parts kit for your rifle, shotgun, or pistol, and Jimmy will work with you to put one together. You'll put yourself in the elite of the elite when it comes to firearms ownership and maintenance. I would say 1% or less firearms owners in this country have any spare parts for their firearms. What do you think, Jimmy?
That's very close, John, yes.
No.
The simple fact of it is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're cleaning your rifle and you have to tear it down just a little bit further than normal to fix something or clean something, and you lose a spring or you lose a detent that prevents your safety from working properly or prevents the takedown pins or something from remaining in place, you've got a situation, ladies and gentlemen, that where the rifle may function, but it'd be dangerous. And in the worst case scenario, you lose a particular spring or pin and the gun won't function at all. Or you have a firing pin that wears or breaks or a firing pin spring. Things like that, ladies and gentlemen, just a small $1 part reduces a rifle to a club. And it's not really worth it. And these OOPS kits, ladies and gentlemen, I think the most expensive one that I've got for the AR platform, which has duplicates of everything, is like $23 or $24. Very, very, very cheap insurance. And these kits, you take the items out of the kit, you put it in a small unbreakable black plastic vial or even a Ziploc baggie, heavy-duty Ziploc baggie, and it'll fit in a storage compartment on the gun so that it's always with the gun. And you've got it when you need it. Very, very important items. And it's not just DARs, ladies and gentlemen. That's any rifle or handgun. Just a few minor springs and pins and everything make life a lot better. What I was saying before the break, John, for the people that have AR platforms with different caliber uppers, you don't want to grab the 5.56 ammo and try to use it in your 300 blackout or vice versa. What you want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is identify your magazines. Cheapest way of all is simply paint. All of my 5.56 magazines, the bottom 1.5 inches of them have a band of tan paint on them. My 300 blackout, which is another, it's a very versatile round for the AR. It gives you both hypersonic and subsonic ammunition. I prime it with gray, and then I put a black band on the bottom of it. 204 Ruger, I use green, forest green. But what you want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is color code these magazines in such a way that even in low light conditions, you can tell if you're grabbing the right one. Very embarrassing, and also can be dangerous if you grab the wrong ammunition for your rifle and or even your pistol. On my 1911 Johns, you know that I've been working on building multiple caliber 1911s for some time. And I color code the bottom of my 1911 mags, same way. And ladies and gentlemen, what you want to do is everything that you do in identifying ammunition, magazines, or anything else, think low light, nighttime with a night light or something that you can tell real quick, either by feel. You can put contact tape on different points of it so that you can tell if it's on the sides, it's this caliber. If it's on the bottom, it's this caliber. If it's in the back, it's this caliber. If there's two pieces on it, it tells you. What you want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to be able to identify by sight or touch and be able to have the right ammunition, the right magazine for the gun that you're running right then. And it just goes back to the common sense factor, ladies and gentlemen. We make things simple, and we keep them simple. In our training, we do the same thing. We keep things simple. And then once we've got that down pat, then we start expanding just a little bit. And I'm starting on a new experimental build, John, that you might find interest in. It's based on the SR-25, which is the sniper version of the AR-10 semi-auto, and new barrel combination and stuff like that. I'm working on building a 1-mile 308.
No kidding.
Yep. And right now, preliminary tests and everything that I've done, it looks like it's going to be quite doable. So
what kind of energy? What kind of energy does a 308 projectile have at 5,280 feet?
Well, at 1,825, where it goes sonic, 1,825 yards, 220 grain bullet is down to 640 foot-pounds of energy. Which
that's a heavy projectile. That's a heavy bullet for a 308.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. And that's what I'm developing this platform around. I've changed the twist on the barrel and everything, and it's proving to be an interesting challenge, but it looks like it's going to work. And it's just something I wanted to do.
I usually see the 220 grain used for subsonic work as opposed to the long-range work. But if you get enough powder behind that sucker, I guess it would reach out there.
Yes, sir. The Hornady came out with a new bullet latter part of last year, and it's called the ELD, extremely low drag. And they've got a couple of variations of it. They've got a match bullet and then what they call the LDX, which is actually better than the match bullet. And that's what we're experimenting with right now. And there's some things, ladies and gentlemen, I could get into in talking ballistics that I would lose you in the first phrase. But when you come down to such things as sectional density and ballistic coefficient, the performance of a bullet is determined by that. So we'll keep everybody posted, John. And I had a lot of interest in it because I was showing the gun at the gun show. And also for your interest, I'm getting ready to, under the tutelage of my mentor, I'm getting ready to build my first two 1911s that'll be able to be sold. They're not on the 80% frames. They're on commercial frames. And so I'm getting ready to build my first two. Actually, they're going to be two multi-caliber kits, 45, 10 millimeter, and 38 Super.
Okay.
And so that's a project I'm looking forward to get started on. We talked about it this weekend. And we'll see how it goes.
Well, 10 millimeters, 10 millimeters undergone a resurgence of popularity. The manufacturers have finally figured out how to build pistols that will stand up to the punishment of that recoil, which is terrible in that 10 millimeter, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And the 1911, the frame, the grip angle and everything on it, several companies are manufacturing 9 millimeters, 1911s and 10 millimeter, because just like everything else, when they built the 1911, they built the perfect platform. And it absorbs the recoil quite well, and with different recoil springs and such, you can manage the recoil even better. And so it's exciting. It's something that we're looking at going on with it. Again, it's something I can do quietly, and I don't have to do a lot of lifting working on it.
Okay. So. Yeah, I'd hate to see an 8-pound 1911.
Yeah, seriously, that would be quite a piece of work, and most people would have a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, like the guy about 3 years ago who cloned two 1911s side by side to shoot them both as one pistol.
Yeah, I still haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Well, it's a novelty. It's a novelty.
Yeah.
It serves no useful purpose, but it's a novelty. If you got a question or comment for Jimmy, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Let's continue, Jimmy.
One thing that I have talked to a couple of customers about, and it's an interesting project. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you are familiar in the war movies and everything, special Vietnam Era Forward. You'll see the soldiers with their M16s, and they'll have the grenade launcher on the bottom. And I was approached by a sheriff's deputy about a week before we did the surgery thing, and we are looking at mounting either a Mossberg or Remington action and barrel to a mount that will go underneath a AR-15 platform.
Well, that's been done.
So
There's nothing new about that, Jimmy. There's nothing new about that. That's been done.
Right. What we're doing though is looking at doing it a little bit more cleanly on it, and so that's something we've been playing with for a couple of people, and going to be interesting to see how that turns out. And it's been really interesting. This surgery, ladies and gentlemen, was kind of a wake-up call to me. This gun show was a show me on it, because I've got to limit myself and I've got to slow down a little bit, which for me is very hard. My metabolism has been one that is stuck in overdrive since I was probably about 4 years old. And I've just constantly been going and going and going. So now I'm going to have to let my brain do the work and kind of keep my body in check, John. But
well, that may be a refreshing change of pace for you, Jimmy. And I would look for it as I would look to it as a learning opportunity and a way to do things more efficiently than you did in the past. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
No, that was the hardest part for me, was yesterday loading out. Teresa did teardown and everything in just absolutely record time. I mean, she had everything down and toted and trunked up and everything in about 45 minutes. And I was I'd already moved the trailer into position and was looking at how her and I were going to load this. And about that time, our friend Dave and Eli, the show promoter, and Phil and a couple others showed up and says, "You point, we'll move." And that was hard for me. I'm used to doing it all on my own, and right. So it's great, John, to see that you have so many friends out there and people that care and are concerned and jump in and sweat a little bit and exert a little bit rather than just tell you that they'll pray for you.
There you go. We got a caller here. We got a caller on hold. We got Dan in Missouri. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Dan.
Yeah. I wanted to ask your opinion on a new a load that's been advertised in the Rifleman magazine here lately. It's from a company called I'll wait.
Okay, we have a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday the 19th. Dan, you were making an inquiry about a new loading on a caliber. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a new loading on the 9mm. It comes from a company. Their website is novxammo.com. And they're taking let's see, what do they call it? It's oh boy, where's this thing at? Shoot. It's copper and polymer projectile of 65 grains and running it at over 1,700 feet a second, which produces 422 foot-pounds, which they say is more energy than the 45 ACP. Have you gotten any feedback on this or aware of it?
No, I haven't, but I've seen a couple of similar ideas out there on frangible ammunition that a couple of companies have made, and the concept is not new. Doing a very light bullet with combination of materials and pushing them at a very high rate of speed. But I wrote that down, and I'll look into it and see what I can find out. And next Monday when I'm on the air, we'll see if we can come up with some answers for you on it.
Yeah, they're pretty proud of them. They're getting about $2 a pop. But what I would love for you to find out is if we can find the projectiles so we can load our own.
That would
they
be
say
interesting.
it's a copper poly.
Into that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. Sounds like you've got a lot of fingers out there. You maybe could find out where we could get the projectiles. I'd love to see that loaded in the little 380. That could really give that a good steroid injection. You know, if it'll do the same for that, is not the same, but similar to the 9, that could really improve that 380. All right, that's all I had. Just look into that.
No, thank you, Dan. We appreciate the call.
Sir.
We don't have time for any more calls. Well, Jimmy, it's good to have you back, and will you be able to make the full 2 hours next week, do you think?
I plan on it, John. Ladies and gentlemen, my goal is to not miss any more time, and I apologize again for missing what I have, because I really miss talking to our friends every Monday morning. It's my start to the week, and it makes me feel great, John.
Well, this 2 hours every Monday has become very popular with our listeners, and we want to continue doing that as long as we can, Jimmy. So we look forward to having you back next Monday and many, many more Mondays into the future.
Yes, sir. We plan on being there. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if you've got any questions, JIMI@hdc-nm.com and or DesertEagleShooters.com. And we'll work with you, and we'll see if we can get everything up and running and make it even better.
Sounds good, Jimmy. Appreciate you being with us. Look forward to heading back next Monday, sir.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you
Okay. All right. A good way to start the week. I got a busy week myself. I'll be headed down to Dallas Friday, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you folks there. Don't forget, if you want $20 off the ticket to get in there, just go to my website to get the promotion code and get $20 off the entrance fee there for the Hear the Watchman event. That's it for the day. Get your medical supplies, your energy cleaning, your essential oils. Now, while you can, your firearms and ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.